This video was actually created for a college class of mine as a project to be graded. That being said, if my video is being shown in class, I just want to give a quick heads up to my fellow classmates. The footage in this video comes from a rated M video game, which is like a rated R movie. It has a great deal of realistic video game violence and gore. Some of it gets pretty intense. If you've never seen a rated R movie and you're not used to that kind of thing, some of these clips may be difficult to watch. I think most of you will be fine. This is just a disclaimer that I know I should provide. Having said all that, if you want to ask our professor to be excused for like a 10-minute restroom break or however long this video ends up being, I'm going to go ahead and assume he will be okay with that, and I certainly will not be offended. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Feather214. Welcome to my very first ever tutorial video. So you're thinking about playing Ubisoft's toddler game, For Honor. No, it's not a game for toddlers. The game itself is a toddler. It's only 2 years old. In the gaming community, that may be old, but to me, it's just a toddler. Ubisoft's just getting started, because here you are, and so are we. If you're new to this game, allow me to welcome you to the thrilling world of For Honor. If you're a veteran player just looking for tips on how to play the Peacekeeper character, feel free to skip ahead in the video where I try my very best to teach you everything you need to know to become a master of the Peacekeeper. For Honor technically is a fighting game. However, it is one that was clearly created by a talented group of true innovators. Generally speaking, video games classified as fighting games are usually thought of as a one-on-one, side-scrolling game. A couple of examples would be the Mortal Kombat series or the Soul Calibur series. While these games are still tons of fun to play, if I compare them to the controls and mechanics of For Honor, they just don't feel natural. Unlocking a character's full potential in these games often requires a knowledge of certain moves that will take a string of 3 to 5 specific buttons to push, sometimes even more, just to pull off one cool move. Maybe this is just my opinion, but in a real fight, you won't have time to think that way. For Honor is built to make me feel like I'm actually in a real fighting scenario, from the standpoint of actually reacting to my opponent's attacks in a natural way. The most bare bones strategy in this game basically comes down to 2 ways of thinking. Where are they going to attack me from? Or where are they not expecting me to attack them from? The playstyles of For Honor's characters are categorized in sets of classes: Vanguard, Heavy, Assassin, and Hybrid. Our lovely lady, the Peacekeeper, is a stone-cold assassin. Assassins are built to rely heavily on their offensive abilities. They generally have less health and lower defense than the other classes. If you've never played as an assassin before, keep in mind that whatever direction you move an assassin's guard stance only stays active for literally 1 second. This is called a reflex guard, and only assassins have to deal with this. Other classes don't need to worry about this, and can keep their guard up in any direction without having to reset it. A lot of players who switch to an assassin for the first time don't like this feature because it's something else they have to be aware of in battle. What they don't think about is how easy it would be to win with these characters if For Honor decided to make it easy for them to have a good defense, on top of already having superior offensive skills. If you want to play as an assassin, then you've virtually chosen to put your offensive difficulty on easy and your defense on hard. You may have to go into the arena training mode, which we have all done, and do some practicing. An assassin's defensive mentality should not be limited to just focusing on blocking incoming attacks. Your weapon is not all you have to protect yourself with. Be prepared to rely on your mobility as well. This is vital to the playstyle of an assassin. Let's dive into the art of playing as the Peacekeeper. First, I'm going to take you into the training arena and as briefly as possible display every move she has. This is so that when we discuss her strategies later on, you have a reference to her moves right here in the same video. Next, while we're in the arena, I'm going to give you some suggestions on what you should specifically practice with your Peacekeeper. The information here is vital to understand before you fully implement the strategies for taking on different types of players, which we'll discuss later. After training strategies, we'll talk about feints. If you don't know what feints are, don't worry, we'll get to it. Finally, once you've mastered all the technicalities of playing as the Peacekeeper, you're ready to begin adapting everything you know to the different types of playstyles that you will encounter on the battlefield. All of the Peacekeeper's moves and combos are accessible right here in the training arena, so we're just going to briefly run through them. If you want to find the list for yourself, enter the training arena, go to the pause menu, under the arena tab, select moveset. So even though this isn't the first move listed, we're going to talk about this one, Deep Gouge, first, because this one can be applied at the end of any combo that ends with a heavy attack. You hit your enemy with the heavy, you wait for the heavy attack to land, then you hit the light at the end. Upon contact, hit the light attack. That light attack at the end hits them with a bleed damage, which slowly does damage over time. Your strategy with the Peacekeeper should always involve applying bleed damage to your enemy. Stab. Guard break, light, light, light. Make sure you don't mash the light attack button here, or it might not work. Be patient and just press each light attack with a steady pace. There are also two other combos you can pull off from the guard break. Instead of going for your third stab, you hit guard break again, she kicks them away, and this gives you a moment to recuperate while they stagger. Another option of yours, after you stab them twice and kick them away, you use your dash and thrust attack on them. That's going to work on most opponents, at least in my experience, it has worked most of the time. This move, among assassins, is more commonly known as a deflect. Every assassin has their own unique deflect. If you dodge in the direction of an enemy's attack at the very last possible moment, your weapons will clash. That's when you want to press your light attack, and your Peacekeeper will hit them with an unblockable counterattack. Your window of opportunity for deflects is very small. If you're new to For Honor, I recommend your next step is to get comfortable with the Peacekeeper's different attack combinations that we just went over. While getting yourself familiar with her moves, get in the habit now to watch your stamina. Pay attention to how much of it you have left after every combination that you practice. The worst thing that you can let happen to you in a fight is exhaustion. Some characters, like a well-played Raider or Centurion, are so notoriously good at punishing you for letting your stamina run out that they will never let you regain it before they've killed you. If you're just new to playing as an assassin, I would recommend working on your defense. In the arena settings, set your opponent to attack you with some really basic heavy attacks. You don't want to make this too difficult just yet. Practice your timing with blocking, parrying, and dodging against a variety of opposing characters. Some characters can throw undodgeable or unblockable moves at you. If you're willing to put in the grind for this part, you can learn against every character when it's wiser to block, parry, or dodge an attack. Whenever you're practicing your dodges, get used to hitting that heavy attack with the bleed effect afterwards. Again, be mindful to watch your stamina. If you're in a situation where your stamina is already low, that last bleed attack could send you into exhaustion. In that case, that extra bleed just isn't worth it. Save your stamina and just hit it with the heavy. Once you have a formidable handle on those basic defensive elements, it's time to get a little fancy and practice those deflects. Before we move on, I highly recommend you put in the time with your Peacekeeper to master everything you've learned so far. If you find ways to win with what you have now, you will be a true nightmare for your opponents after you've learned the art of our next topic. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the art of feints. I purposely saved this topic for when after you've mastered everything else. Although I am tempted to call this the icing on the cake of For Honor mastery, in some cases, when we're talking about strategy, it's almost like a whole nother cake. A feint is when you throw out an attack and you cancel that attack before it hits your enemy. Light attacks cannot be feinted, you can only feint heavy attacks. That literally means any heavy in any string of combos. Strategically, this is perfect for confusing and even baiting your enemy to react how you want them to. Just when you thought you've become too predictable to fool your enemies because you finished the cake I gave you earlier, here you go, a whole new cake of mix-ups. You might be saying, okay Feather, we get it. Feints rock our socks off, now how do we do this? Well, let me just tell you. The Peacekeeper has 4 different ways she can feint. The most basic, traditional feint is performed by simply pressing what I'm going to call the cancel button, which would be the circle button on PS4 or the B button on Xbox One. Press the cancel button after you've initiated your heavy attack and before it hits your enemy. The most popular feint, I think, for a Peacekeeper player is to press your light attack in place of the cancel button. After she feints the would-be heavy attack, she quickly follows up with a light bleed attack in the top area of the guard stance. If you want this method of feinting to be effective, you have to attack from the right and left frequently enough to convince your opponent that you won't attack from the top. Another way to feint is to once again replace your cancel button, this time with your guard break button. This is not guaranteed to work every time, as your opponent can counter guard break you if they react fast enough. Every now and then I throw it out there just to mix things up. Our 4th and final method of feinting is by again replacing the cancel button, and this time with your dodge button. This can lead to an interesting strategy of feinting your heavy attack in one direction and then using your dodge heavy combo in the other. Before we talk about fighting strategies, there's one more move in her arsenal that I skipped over earlier, her zone attack. Initiate the zone attack by pressing your heavy and light attacks at the same time. This move will hit the opponent 2 times. The first hit comes out extremely fast, but the second hit is extremely slow and predictable. The most viable use of her zone attack is to use a feint after the first hit. Mark my words, do not overuse the zone attack. One of the most common mistakes in Peacekeeper players is the overuse of this move. It takes away half of your stamina and always attacks in the same direction. Save this move for when you have a very tough opponent down to a small amount of health left. Be unpredictable. As we move forward from here, always keep these 2 very important principles in mind. Remember that every heavy attack can be feinted. And remember to watch your stamina. It does take extra stamina to throw out a feint. Generally speaking, there are many different types of players with dozens of different playstyles and tendencies that you will come across in the world of For Honor. For the sake of time, I'll consolidate these playstyles into 3 generalizations. Aggressive players, defensive players, and elite players. First and foremost, no matter how difficult your opponent may appear, you have to convince yourself that there is always a way to win. In my experience, the most common playstyle you'll encounter in new players is aggressiveness. These players can be annoying, especially at first. Even some of the worst For Honor players might win the first round on you just because you weren't expecting them to do everything they know how to do right from the start. However, after you've gained a lot of experience in this game, you'll be able to easily identify if an aggressive player actually knows what they're doing or if they're just throwing out everything they've got. These players will show you everything they know in the first round or 2. If you've practiced your defense, you should be fine, at least by the 2nd or 3rd round. These players are usually repetitive, so pay attention to what they're doing so you can make them pay for it when they run out of ideas. Most of the time you'll be able to get away with using your dodge heavy combos. If you're good with your deflex, I would definitely recommend going for those style points. In the For Honor community, we have a name for overly passive or defensive players. We call them turtles. A turtle player in For Honor will most likely not attack you first, and in fact, they may even try to entice you with their emotes so that you will make the first move.
The worst thing is when you find a turtle with an almost impenetrable defense. These players do exist, and some of them are so good at defense that they usually won't even fall for your feints. So how do we deal with this nonsense? Well, just like any other match, you have to feel them out. They need to make a few mistakes that you can capitalize on. I hate admitting this, but oftentimes I find that the only way to beat a turtle with a really good defense is to become a turtle yourself and truly test how patient they really are. The better a player is at using their feints, the more difficult it is to defeat them. Elite players are usually seasoned veterans who have all but a flawless defense, and as for their offense, they're masters at mind games and tricking you out. My strategy is always to remain calm and just keep looking for their flaws. Be patient and stay on your defense. Cautiously throw out a light attack every time you think they're using a feint. As effective as feints are, they can be disrupted by a well-timed light attack, especially if they're using more than one feint at a time. If you see an opportunity for a guard break, take it and chalk up that bleed damage. Well guys, I've ran out of time. In conclusion, mastering the Peacekeeper, or any character for that matter, is a journey you ultimately have to walk on your own. Every For Honor character has their own unique playstyle. I sincerely hope this video is able to help you and your Peacekeeper reach new levels of gameplay. Always remember, be adaptable and be unpredictable. Thanks for watching.
Round 5.